Taction USA is your go-to source for crime scene and evidence collection supplies. Taction USA offers quality products all designed and tested by active duty first responders and investigators. With no minimum order, you can order as much or as little as you need. Ordering is fast with no hassle attached. Check out TactionUSA.com today and find the quality and quantity you need when it comes to crime scene and evidence collection supplies. That's TactionUSA.com, or look for the link in our show notes and Facebook posts.
Welcome to Crossing the Tape, one of our news segments. As always, I am one of your hosts, Hilary, and I'm joined by my husband,
Brendan.
And today we're going to give you an update about the Gene Hackman death.
Yes, we previously discussed Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa were found dead in separate parts of their Santa Fe, New Mexico residence. Our initial thought was probably carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah, and that seemed to be what the news was saying initially.
Yes, that was the big speculation, and one of their dogs was also found deceased, but I think 2 other dogs were just fine.
Yeah, they were outside, so that's also why everybody thought carbon monoxide initially.
Yes, but we learned pretty early on in the investigation that Santa Fe Fire was called to the scene, and they did some air quality tests and found no issues with carbon monoxide.
Right.
At least nothing that would be fatal. So since we covered that, we told you we would bring you an update when we knew more. We now know more.
Right.
So, it was determined that Betsy Arakawa, Mr. Hackman's wife, passed away in February from the hantavirus.
Mm-hmm. Which was surprising to me.
Yes, it does exist in New Mexico, apparently, along with the bubonic plague.
Right.
It's a rare rodent-borne disease that can cause a range of symptoms that are flu-like.
Which a lot of the articles I read said that, their home wasn't dirty. Their home was very clean.
Right.
But I think that maybe she had gotten it from a garden shed or something. That's the only thing I saw that mentioned anything.
No evidence of rodent feces or rodent activity in the house.
No.
But I think in one of the outbuildings, probably a garden shed, something like that.
Which, it's outside. It's
Yeah.
It's bound to happen, unfortunately.
But that can cause headaches, dizziness, respiratory issues, and then, unfortunately, Gene Hackman is believed to have passed away about a week later of heart disease, combined with complications from his advanced Alzheimer's disease.
Which, he may not have known what happened, which is extremely sad.
She was gone, but for that week, he was without his primary caretaker.
Right, which is very sad.
Yes. So, Hackman was 95. Arakawa was 65. So he was already quite advanced in age as it was. And then with her not being there to care for him,
right,
naturally he wasn't going to last very long with the issues he already had. So we know that police were alerted. They conducted a pretty lengthy investigation.
Yeah,
this was fairly high profile.
Well, yes, and originally I thought maybe carbon monoxide, and then people were thinking maybe foul play, which thank goodness it wasn't. It's still sad no matter what, but I'm just glad it wasn't anything.
They were not victimized,
right?
Necessarily. Part of that investigation, this just came out in the last few days. They checked Arakawa's computer, and they saw that she was actively looking through, kind of Googling COVID-19 symptoms, flu symptoms, between February 8th and the morning of the 12th. The searches included questions about dizziness, nosebleeds. She had messaged her therapist talking about waking up with flu-like symptoms, etc., but that a COVID test was negative. So they asked that she schedule an appointment quickly.
Right.
Again, an assessment of the property showed no rodent issues in the house,
No.
but in several of the outbuildings. So it was really just by chance that she contracted it. I mean, we don't know how severe the rodent activity was, but
that is unfortunate that, everything's fine and then all of a sudden.
And then one of the dogs, which was found deceased, was found dead in a crate in the bathroom closet near where Miss Arakawa apparently collapsed. We know she fell. There was medication spilled around her, and the deceased dog was right nearby. The state veterinary lab determined that was due to dehydration and starvation.
Right.
So again, with his Alzheimer's disease, he was in no condition to care for himself.
Right.
Or the animals.
Right. He didn't know.
The two that were not locked up in crates apparently found a way to get by.
Yeah.
And were still alive when investigators showed up. So that, wild as it is, that's still pretty nuts.
Yeah.
That she passed away from a totally... just a chance.
Very chance. Now, I don't want to say rare, but it's an anomaly most of the time.
Right. And I think usually something that can be treated without too much issue if you get medical treatment.
But she apparently tried and it just
was too late. It looks like she was setting up some service to drive her to a doctor's appointment that she had placed a phone call to, and later that day she had missed their return phone call, so she may have already been passed at that point.
That's too bad.
But yeah, something that maybe it was due to she was 65. We don't know what else her health was like. Otherwise, probably quite treatable.
Yeah.
But it sounds like too she was thinking. I mean, if I got sick, my first guess wouldn't be, hantavirus.
No, and
she was looking up COVID symptoms.
Well, and I'm
symptoms.
stubborn. I don't like to go to the doctor. So, well, let's see what I can do for myself before I have to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a cup of tea.
Right. Have some honey.
Maybe an ibuprofen if I really get messed up.
But it's all very sad. I am glad that it was clarified pretty quickly, and I'm glad that it wasn't something, what am I trying to say?
Malicious.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't.
They weren't attacked.
Right. Because that was my first thought too, and I thought, how terrible. So it's still highly unfortunate, but I'm glad that at the very least, the silver lining is, it was somewhat natural.
Yeah, it was pretty much natural for both of them, just really unfortunate.
Right.
And one of the things we had talked about, speculated about, was the possibility of it being like a murder-suicide, or not a murder-suicide, but a grief-stricken suicide.
Right.
Because they said the medication around her. Well, did she find him deceased and then she, couldn't go on without him? But no, she passed away first.
Right.
A week before he did.
Which explains the dog, because I thought too maybe the dog got a hold of the medication and had OD'd on the medication as well. Right. But again, it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just a series of unfortunate, accidents.
And with his mental state, the blessing and curse of Alzheimer's, he probably didn't really realize at any point that he had lost his spouse.
Right, which is, in a sense, is a blessing.
Comfort there. Yeah, as terrible as Alzheimer's disease is.
But he will certainly be missed. He's one of our favorites.
Yes. God, he was good. So, that's the conclusion to that case. Turns out, nothing criminal, just an unfortunate series of events that raised a lot of eyebrows because of the way it unfolded.
Well, and high profile for who he was. But, I'm glad that it wasn't anything nefarious.
Yes. So, that is the conclusion of our coverage on the passing of Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa. We will return to you very soon with more news and a lovely story about blood.
Yeah.
We know you like that. So, please sign the crime scene log on the way out and join us again soon.
Stay safe.
Nope.